What's up guys, Dark Roast here. Going to be doing a video on my 2002 Mitsubishi Montero Sport. We're going to be replacing the EGR valve as well as the EGR valve solenoid. So let's get to it. Alright, so first things first, you're going to disconnect the negative terminal of the battery. I already did it off camera, but basically get a 10mm socket, remove the terminal, and I got it covered up and set to the side over here. Just anytime working with electronics on a car, disconnect the battery so nothing shorts out. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the EGR valve. All right, so first things first, we're gonna remove the two bolts holding the EGR valve in place. It's two 12mm bolts. So we're gonna get a 12mm socket. I already had broken them off camera. So just go ahead and remove them. All right, that's one. And that is two. All right, now that the bolts are off, we're gonna go ahead and remove the EGR valve gasket right here. Make sure you remove that as well when you take it off. Oh, and we're gonna disconnect the hose that's connected to the EGR. Right there. Set it aside. All right, so this is the old EGR valve that was on the Montero, and this is the gasket that was on it. This is the new one. It's a NewYall EGR valve that I got on Amazon. It was like 25-30 bucks. Drop the link in the description on where I got it from. Just make sure if you're gonna buy this, make sure you get a EGR valve gasket as well. I had one laying around when I did my valve cover gaskets, and I got it in a full kit, so now I'm finally using it, so it's good. But here's the part number and the part name, and now we're gonna throw it on. Alright, so before putting the new EGR valve on, make sure you clean off the surface of where the EGR valve goes. I use the microfiber cloth. You can use a scouring pad if you want, whatever to make clean contact with the new one and the gasket. So I got the bolts through the EGR valve with the gasket holding it in place. So we're going to put it on top. Alright, so once we got everything lined up, we're going to tighten the bolts down. It's everything hand tight. And before we tighten it down, I'm gonna put the hose back on the EGR valve. There we go. Now we're gonna go ahead and tighten it down with the 12mm socket. Alright, so we got the EGR valve on. Now we're gonna move on to putting on the EGR valve solenoid. Let's go. Alright, so we're gonna remove the EGR valve solenoid, which is right in here where it's connected to. So to make some space, we're just gonna remove this wire loom, push it to the side. And here's the EGR valve solenoid right here. So to remove this, we have two 10mm bolts on top, and then there's two 10mm bolts underneath, which it's gonna be hard to show you guys because I don't really have a cameraman or the camera equipment to like hold my phone, but I'll show you guys how to remove the top ones, and then I'll show you where on a bracket, because it's actually being held by a bracket. So let's do it. We're gonna go ahead and remove the two top ones. You don't have to necessarily use power tools. I'm only using power tools just to speed up the process of everything, since I'm on a time crunch now, since I have somewhere to be. This whole job can be done with regular hand tools. You don't need power tools for anything. All right, so there's the top bolt removed with the bracket. Make sure you don't lose this negative wire. We'll set it to the side. Now we're gonna remove the bottom 10mm bolts, which is two, basically on the same side underneath. All right, so I ended up removing the air intake just so I can get a better view of where these two bolts are on the bottom bracket. But here are the two bolts. You can see right there. There's one on the right and there's one on the left that are holding the bottom part of the bracket down. So we're gonna go ahead and remove those two and then get this bracket out. All right, so I removed the two 10mm bolts on the bottom bracket off camera just because the camera placement wasn't working, and already having to remove the air intake, and then I had to remove the wire loom here, and the other wire, other two wires are holding in place off that bracket. But I was able to get the bolts off. Now we're gonna lift up the bracket and unplug the solenoid. Alright, so I'm doing things off camera just because it's hard to do it with one hand and I don't have a camera mount. So I disconnected the harness from the solenoid, and then there's the top hose that you had to remove, which is right here. And then there's another one on the bottom, which is right here. So once you unplug the wire and then remove the two hoses from the solenoid, you can now remove it with the bolt in the back, which is a 10mm, I believe. So we're gonna go ahead and take that off and compare it with the new one. All right, so here's that 10mm nut right here. All right, popped off. There we go. Got the EGR solenoid off. All right, so here is the old EGR solenoid that came off the Montero, and this is the new one. So I got this on Amazon as well. It's like 30-40 bucks, I can't remember. Like I said, I'll drop the links for both parts in the description. But we're comparing parts again, and it looks the same, so we are good to go with replacing it. This is actually a Dorman brand. Here's the brand and the part number. And now we're gonna go ahead and throw this on. All right, we're gonna go ahead and throw the new EGR valve solenoid on the bracket, and we're gonna use the same nut that we took off from it. And tighten it, and then we'll tighten it down. So you're probably wondering why I'm replacing my EGR valve and my solenoid. It's actually because my Montero was throwing an EGR valve code. I'll drop the code in the video so you can see what code number it is, because I can't remember off the top of my head. So that's why I'm replacing both the EGR valve and the EGR solenoid, hoping that the code will go. So yeah, now we're gonna line the bracket back up and connect all the hoses and connect the wire. So here's that top hose. Slide that back in. And then for the bottom hose, we'll throw that on too. And then where's that connector? Right here. And we'll plug it right in. There we go. We got that lucky click. That nice click. Alright. Now all it's left to do is line the bracket back up and then tighten everything down and then put everything back in place. Just how we found it. Right, so we're gonna go ahead and put the two top bolts back on. I'm honestly just gonna show you the two top ones just because there's really no way for me to show you me putting on the two bottom bolts. So we'll go ahead and throw these on. Don't forget to put that negative terminal back on this bolt before throwing it on. Alright, those are on. Can't do the bottom bolts off camera. Alright, we got the bottom bolts of the bracket back on. Got all the cables all connected, all the wires are connected and back in the brackets that they're on. Gonna throw on the air intake, and that's pretty much it. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see more DIY content, let me know in the comments. Or if you want to see more moto vlogs, let me know too. So, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.